everybody. First off, I wanted you to see that we are wearing our mask here. I am going to take it off to do this presentation, but there's nobody else upstairs. Terry and Kathy are in their offices in this whole upstairs area. Nobody's around me, so I can take it off to do these presentations and to have my glasses clear up while I'm talking. So we've been talking a lot about communication. This one I'm going to call fitting the situation conversation, which that basically means whatever situation you're in, how you talk to the other person in that room, that situation with you. Because if you think about it, knowing how to communicate with people in the right situation is a very, very important skill. There are often unspoken rules and standards that people just expect. You know, like a boss might expect this, a friend or a family member, and those are kind of, there's no rules for those are just the norm, what people expect to see, okay? It's common practice when at work or in a professional world that you shake hands. Right now, of course, we're not shaking hands. We're not doing that with people when meeting them for the first time, versus, you know, you seeing a friend, hey, how you doing, high five, knuckles. You're meeting somebody for the first time, you're not gonna be doing knuckles, high five. Think back when you came into work and you met Terry Wilson, you met me, you met Mr. Guire, any of the staff. When you first were hired in, or when you came in for the testing to meet people, first thing we did was we introduced ourselves and we shook hands. And that's just kind of common how you do it. Like I said, right now with COVID, we're not touching each other, keeping our hands to ourselves. As far as even greeting people, it's probably just a wave. But in general, a professional type, business type meeting, you would shake hands, okay? When you're with your family or your friends, or even in talking with a coworker that you're really good friends with, you know, your best friend, you might have a certain, guys might have one of those silly dun 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 goofy handshakes, you know, that does like 17 things. I used to have one of those handshakes with a coworker. Don't do it so much anymore, but those are friends. That's how you greet friends. Or, you know, how about a family member? If you go see your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, anybody that's family or close to you, when you see them, you might give them a hug. I have a couple really good friends that I would give hugs to when I say hi, and when I leave, I give them hugs. But I surely wouldn't be going up to Mr. Terry Crow and giving him a big old hug when I came into work. So that's what we're talking about, the situation, who the person is, and the situation of where you're at. Kind of talks about how you interact with them, what your body does for the communication. If I'm in Mr. Guire's office for a meeting, I'm sitting up nice and straight and tall. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because that situation is a serious situation. That is a professional situation. If I'm just hanging out in the break room, talking to somebody that works here, talking to Terry Crow, talking to Terry Wilson, I might be kicked back a little bit, you know, just kind of, hey, you know, free and loose and, you know. But when I'm in a professional place setting, talking to someone of importance, a job interview, doctor's office, any of those type professional things, I'm going to sit up straight. I'm going to give that person my attention. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to offer a handshake. Now, I also know a lot of you guys here show that respect by calling us staff, Miss Kathy, Miss Terry, Mr. Terry, you know, whatever. And that's fine. But I guarantee you, when I'm out on the floor, I'm a little more relaxed than if I'm in my office talking to somebody. Because my office is a more of a serious situation. And I think a few of you understand what I'm saying by that, okay? I've got a couple examples of communication for a discussion question that we'll go over later. And I have a couple little clips I want to show you real quick, okay? All about fitting in the situation. Communication that you're going to fit into the situation that you're in, okay?
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good today.
Great, how was your weekend?
Pretty fast, but pretty. We have some quality time. I cooked some
Yeah.
special dinner. My kids to treat my kids a little bit
Yeah.
with some Russian food.
Hey, Scooby!
Hi, Scooby.
Good to see
Hey.
ya! You cooked Russian food, really?
All the time.
Oh my goodness.
You can't believe it. Russians cook.
Yeah, it sounds really, really yummy.
Okay, so in this clip, you saw Tatiana and Becky. They had their mask, but they were off because it's break time. They were at a casual sitting, having break, gonna be eating and drinking. So at that point, we do take our mask off, but we keep, Tatiana was down here, Becky was way up here. We're keeping that 6 foot social distance when we don't have our mask on, especially. All the time you wanna keep that distance, but especially when you don't have your mask on, okay? So they were visiting with each other. It was very relaxed, nice and calm, kind of just friends, 2 friends chit-chat and have a nice relaxed conversation. They were both sit back, relaxed, very relaxed. So in that situation, it was not considered professional as they were on a break, okay?
Good morning, Tatiana.
Good morning, Becky.
I'm so glad that you were able to come up and meet with me. First question I had was, were you the one who filled this work order out for us to do the laundry?
No, ma'am.
You were not, okay. So I want to review with you a new process that we're gonna do for our laundry. Is now a good time to talk through this with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so with this new form, we're gonna have 4 different categories that you're gonna record information in. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to still record the different types of products that we're washing,
Okay.
but you're gonna record them a little differently on the lines. So we have this first line, second line, third line, and fourth line, and we're gonna record it in these columns across.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you, Tatiana?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in the boardroom. Nobody else is around me again. All the doors are closed, so I'm free to take my mask off. And in this skit, first you saw Becky and Tatiana. They were still pretty good distance, but they had their mask on because they were not eating lunch, they were not taking a break, so they have their mask on. We have to wear them all the time unless we're in an enclosed area where nobody else is around us. Well, nobody's in this room with me. But this was a different type of conversation. It was about work. It was a professional conversation. Becky, as the plant manager working on the work order, needed to discuss some matters with Tatiana. And it was a serious matter. They were in the boardroom, closed area, nobody else was around them. Tatiana was sitting up straight. She was focused and keeping good eye contact with Becky. And if you could tell the different way she spoke to Becky. Upstairs, we're like, oh, hey, how you doing? I do this, I do that. But in this professional meeting, it was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. She was very professional, didn't frigid, didn't move around, sat nice and still, wasn't fidgety with her hands, moving them everywhere, and was showing Becky the respect of being a good listener and having eye focus and keeping her good eye focus and keeping her body focused on Becky and listening and answering her appropriately verbally with yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Okay? Those are just a couple little examples of the different way you want to fit the situation about how you communicate. Communicating needs to fit the situation you're in also, okay? Okay, I talked earlier about having some discussion questions, so to say. I'm gonna put them on your paper, but I also wanna just kind of talk about them here. Give examples of communication, both verbal and nonverbal, okay? So I want you guys to talk about and also write down these answers in your sheet to return to me. I want to see the answers to these questions from the video, okay? First one, that you should always try to practice when communicating with an employer or boss. So when you're communicating with an employer or a boss or a professional figure, like I said, even doctors, but those we're using employer and boss for here. I want to know when you're communicating, what's your body doing? What are you saying? How are you speaking to them? Because all that matters in that situation, okay? So I'd like to know what you're doing when you're talking to an employer or a boss, job interview, things of that nature, okay? Second question. That's a misspell on my part. It should be we all communicate, which means we say things differently. We each have our own way of saying things and communicating with each other. But we do that differently with people in our lives. An example, my parents are passed away, but you may talk to your parents one way versus how you talk to your friends. And then when you come to work, you're gonna talk to certain coworkers. They may not be your friends or the best of your friends, and we always tell you guys that. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you have to respect your coworkers. So you might talk to them a certain way. And then you have your boss. So there's all these people, think of all the people in your life. and how you can communicate, or how you talk to this person and act in front of this person, how you talk and act in front of this person. You do it differently for all those folks. What I want to know is, how does that affect how others see you? Pretty much. So I'm going to give you an example. If you act the same way you act around some of your friends, like if you go into Jim McGuire's office and you start laughing while he's trying to talk to you, how do you think he is going to see you? I think he's going to see you as not taking it seriously, and it's not going to go over well for that meeting, okay? So I want you to use somebody else. Don't use your boss or Mr. Guire, but how you act, how that affects them, how they see you. You know, are you taking it seriously? Do they see you as a close friend, as somebody that cares, as, you know, someone's listening? All those kind of different parts of communication, okay?